everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon. Today, we're going to be discussing declarations to decisions and how Holistiplan has our two new integrations with Canopy Connect and Prizm Insurance to really make this workflow for PNC insurance planning as efficient as possible for advisors. So today we're going to talk about a handful of things. One is why PNC is just a natural extension. I think advisors sometimes take for granted the trust that you all have built with clients and the amount of information that they share with you. In PNC, you can really recycle that information that you know that you've gathered from tax and estate planning and apply it to another service very naturally. The reason we've learned though that people don't do this is because there's a lot of friction to even get the PNC planning process started. So we're going to talk through how to easily collect declaration pages, how Holistiplan can help you uncover the blind spots in PNC and just clients' lifestyle always evolving, and then how to really take these insights from just things on paper to action and help your clients execute on those with Prizm Insurance. And then the most important thing in your already very busy days is how this all can be delivered in minutes and not potentially weeks or months. So today's reality for advisors is clients expect PNC coverages to be reviewed. I think Chubb did a study back in 2018 and they just republished it in 2025 that like over 70% of clients expect advisors to be doing this. And what we hear from advisors all the time is you all want to be doing this, you know it matters, but it's hard to make it consistent, whether that's because the book size you have, maybe you have them segmented, maybe you don't have a great broker relationship, maybe you don't even know what a deck page is. There's a lot of reasons why just getting started, even though we know it's important, can be hard. Again, that declarations, what is a declaration page? A lot of clients don't know what it is. They know what their bill is, but actually going to find a declaration page to review can be difficult. And then those declaration pages always look different. A State Farm deck page looks different than a Safeco deck page, than an American Family deck page. And so you can end up finding yourself losing yourself in a bunch of good data, but it's all differently labeled and hard to go by, which leads into our workflow issue of just it ends up being time consuming, a bunch of different PDFs, emails, things all over the place, and there's not that consistent follow through. So then we spend all this time gathering information, giving great insights only for it to stop. And then if you're like me, it ends up as a forever to do, and I hate forever to do's. I like to get things off my list as efficiently as possible. And so really helping advisors change their reality of today. But what a lot of advisors come to me with is again this whole time thing of we're not doing PNC, Megan, or why do I really need to do this? And there's a huge cost to you and your clients by not doing anything. So first is the blind spots that go unaddressed. Those are things that are low hanging fruits in a lot of situations. Maybe it's that for Christmas your clients got a new dog, but on their insurance policy that they bought 5 years ago, there's an animal liability exclusion. Those blind spots appear quickly. Sometimes they appear in moments that, again, what once was covered is quickly not a covered loss. Planning conversations feel reactive. This means that a client has a claim. Maybe it's a water sewer backup. Maybe it's their roof got damaged. And now they're calling you guys because the insurance company says they don't have coverage and they need you to react to figure out how they're going to fund this, whether it's a loan through, the standard loan process, 401k loan, distribution from some type of account you manage. At the end of the day, if we don't address this now, it still ends up back on your plates, but more from a reactive position. There's also just a lot of great value left on the table. Like I mentioned, you all spend so much time building trust with your clients that not taking that information and sharing it with other professionals that support and protect your clients really is a disjustice to everyone in the situation. So making sure that you're sharing the information you know about clients, not just with the CPA, not just with their estate planning attorney, but also with their insurance professional. And then we really, again, just want to remind you guys that that friction is something that is easy to make a hurdle, but not giving advice is also the other hurdle. So we are working on that with Prizm and having them being the insurance experts where you don't have to be those experts. So the cost of doing nothing, again, hopefully helps you understand that the loss value and opportunity is there. And this is an important piece for you guys to consider implementing. So, as I've mentioned in the other slides, this matters for a whole set of reasons. But one, it does directly impact the success of the financial plan you're doing. You guys could have all the right market choices, all the right investments, and they are 15-year-old turned 16 and goes out on the night drive with some friends and unfortunately gets in a really bad car accident, doesn't matter how well the market performed that year. What matters at that moment is how well that insurance policy is going to respond. And if it doesn't respond, what now happens? We also have obviously just those coverage gaps that clients don't always know about. Chubb did a study and it was over 20% of clients bought the wrong insurance because they didn't even know what coverages existed. So again, that education piece on helping them understand what their risks are and potentially what coverages are available. The workflow of inconsistent, it's not only hard for you, it sometimes becomes a whole nother duty for your clients. And so making the workflow as easy as possible, so this is something we can do on a regular basis, is extremely important. And then obviously just making sure those insights don't lose traction. And like I mentioned earlier, what protects clients today may not protect them tomorrow because of a decision they make at 3 o'clock in the afternoon today. Maybe they buy a trampoline. Maybe they decide to put an in-ground pool above and they have pool exclusions or trampoline exclusions. This is why reviewing coverages every year is important. And I want to be clear, and it's reviewing coverages, not shopping the market. So, what we're really trying to do is make insurance planning practical and repeatable in 3 simple steps. So, first is just that collection of the data with Canopy Connect and quickly and easily getting the declaration pages into Holistiplan system. Then we want to analyze and gain insights. It's not just about finding your clients the cheapest price in the marketplace, but it's about understanding their needs. You know their risk tolerance, you know their liquidity, you understand and can help them look at insurance through a different lens than just a check that they write every year or semi-annually. And then lastly, deliver on that value and take action. This is a hurdle that when I was an insurance broker, it was always interesting how many people knew insurance people. They'd never needed a partnership. But then the second I got into Holistiplan and started working for advisors, it was pretty clear to me that a lot of advisors didn't actually have someone they trusted. They may know someone in the business that could help them out if they needed, but actually someone that they could rely on consistently and deliver, regardless of if they served a specific community or they served nationwide, was something that became a larger hurdle as they wanted to expand on insurance planning. And so being able to take action easily is very important. So first, we're going to talk through Canopy Connect. This is what I call kind of that first stop in the overall insurance planning process. This is the first hurdle of collecting those declaration pages. So Canopy Connect connects with 96% of the auto market, 91% of the homeowners market, which means from your perspectives, about 99% of your clients will be able to successfully use Canopy Connect to connect their insurance to Holistiplan. And when I say connect their insurance to Holistiplan, it's simply sending the declaration pages that are in Safeco or American Family System directly into Holistiplan system. All the clients need to know is their login in order to enter it, which is the 3 simple steps of Canopy Connect. So first, you're going to go into your Holistiplan account, find the household that you want to send the client uplink to, just like you do on tax today. You send that link to your client. They now get to go into the Canopy workflow where they're going to enter in simply their username and password. They click submit. Canopy will then go retrieve the active documents. And once they see that success at the end, that means those documents have now been successfully sent to Holistiplan, where we are going through our OCR process. And as the advisor, you will receive an email once our OCR process is done and the official Holistiplan report is completed. And the best part of all of this is it usually takes under 20 seconds for your client. So again, no more of them sending you bills, or maybe they just scan in the front half of the deck pages and not all the deck pages. Canopy is going to do a lot of the legwork that sometimes turn this into more of a process than it needed to be. It also avoids that awkward conversation sometimes clients find themselves in with their current broker of like, why are you asking for deck pages? Are you shopping? What are you doing? Where really from your perspective as a financial advisor, you just want to make sure that their coverages align with the financial plan. And when life happens, the coverages are there. So again, great, easy way to start the process, all by sending one single link to your client. And really, again, the impact on here is we know you all are very busy. So there's very little admin work. It's creating a link. The reports are generated then from there. So no more going in, creating a report, uploading the documents. It's gone from a multi-step process to a single step process. And that consistent data is key. Reports are only as good as the data that we have. And so by getting that consistent data, we're able to show consistent insights. We're able to perform and help you guys catch those blind spots regularly. And again, have those better client experiences where you're really showing the client how proactive you are in the approach and that you care more about them than just the investments they're making today. So after the documents are collected, like I mentioned, it goes into the Holistiplan system, which is where you can kind of track all this. And in the past, when advisors were just collecting declaration pages and not using Holistiplan, it was really just more data. And sometimes that became overwhelming. A lot of advisors would be like, Megan, I went to Zillow and I checked the replacement cost. And according to Zillow, the home is $1 million, but the replacement cost is 1.5. And in all reality, that's not checking accurate data. The rebuild cost is different than the market value. Market value looks at things like cost of land, cost of living at the school district, amenities in the area, where rebuild cost is really that cost of debris removal, architect plans, the cost of labor and lumber. And so really allowing advisors to not only have the data, but use it and understand it and digest it in a way that they can take it back to their clients and help them make sense of potentially what exposures exist. So that's exactly what Holistiplan does. You put in those messy deck pages that all look different, have different issues within them, and Holistiplan takes the data, connects the dots between lifestyle and assets, and puts it in to a planning first document that allows you to have the right conversations, provide insights without ever becoming that insurance expert. And I think the key to Holistiplan is we were built for advisors. We were really built by advisors. If you know Roger and Ben, and the amount of advisors that give feedback, this all is because of you guys, but it was designed for conversation and it's ready for clients. So you're able to, once you send that link, you get the email from Holistiplan, you're able to jump in and just go straight to that print button to start to deliver the insights your clients are currently looking to receive. And so the other important part that Holistiplan does is not only do we make sense of the declaration pages, but those are just really policies. What is also missing in the overall insurance planning experience is, like I mentioned, the trust that advisors have built and the context you have about clients' lifestyle, where they're going, how their assets are happening. Maybe you know they're coming into an inheritance. Maybe they're going to liquidate a business in a few years. Maybe they're going to do a bathroom remodel. Maybe they're going to add a second story to their home and they're going to move out. All of those things are major red flags in insurance and can quickly, again, take a very good insurance policy and turn it into a headache. Course of construction is a perfect example. Clients assume that they can, do work on their home whenever they want, and all they have to worry about is adjusting the replacement costs. But in all reality, there's a lot of insurance companies that have deductibles when construction's going on if you don't notify them. So that means your client can have $1,000 deductible today, start construction, not notify the company, and now they have a 5% deductible and or no coverages or limited coverages when that loss occurs. So again, this is where advisors get to remain the quarterback, but really connect those most important dots. And this is where Holistiplan helps you do that. Between the declaration collection and our lifestyle analysis overlay, you now get to tell the client's full picture before they go to market. So now they can say, I am going to do construction, or I sit on a non-for-profit board, and it's not just about price. So this matters to both the clients and the plan. That accurate data is so important when it comes to analysis because a piece of bad data can provide a wrong advice. When it comes to shopping insurance or buying insurance for the first time, I think most of us would be shocked at how many assumptions a lot of insurance professionals make, whether that's there's no dogs in household, the roof's been updated in the last 10 years, the client doesn't sit on a non-for-profit board, and all those assumptions dwindle down the appropriate coverage that your client may need. And then that leads to not the right recommendations. And so when we complete the story, your clients then get the right recommendations. They get the right point of view and why these are exposures and the necessity to transfer that risk and allow them to make the educated decision on if that transfer of risk is worth the dollars. And then the most important is that client confidence and allowing them to know that they can trust you in both the process and the planning and that you're looking out for everything, not just those investments. So when it comes for advisors, there's so much that this really can do for you all, but the most important thing is it allows you to have this conversation with every client, and it allows you to manage their risk in a actionable way that there's no complexity added, very little additional workflow being added. You're already in Holistiplan most likely for your taxes, so why not just quickly add in the PNC? And we've now added the next step, which is Prizm. And really, what we heard from client or from advisors was, great, Megan, we love Holistiplan reports. But now again, we don't have that broker that we trust, or we have a great broker in our local community, but I have a few clients that live outside my state and I don't have a great resource to go to. So this makes it really hard to offer this for all clients. Well, Prizm is that solution that can help you guys through that. And why Prizm and Holistiplan work so well together is the Holistiplan report, again, is going to prepare your client for what they need to know. It's going to give them the ground level of like, what is insurance? What is my dwelling coverage? What's my personal liability? And then it also helps with that awareness gap of, I didn't even know I could buy coverage for nonprofit directors and officers, or I didn't know that there was an exclusion on my policy for wind and hail in South Carolina. A lot of things that then when they go to take the action, those outcomes don't come as a surprise. It's no longer like, wow, why am I being offered directors and officers coverage? No one's ever mentioned that to me. Do I really need it? Well, becoming educated before someone offers you a solution allows you to take that solution and internalize it a little more to make a better decision and be like, hey, I actually sit on a board that does have some, issues that make me concerned of lawsuits, and I do want to have that protection, where others may say, I sit on a small board, I'm not worried about it, but I'm glad I know it's available. So again, it then takes that actions and outcomes from, hey, I need the cheapest price as possible, which the only way to get super cheap pricing is to remove the protection. Is that's not the conversation. It's, how do I transfer the right amount of risk and then pay the appropriate amount of money, and really allows that broker relationship to have better experiences for your clients. And again, not usually as much sticker shock that we tend to see when they just go directly to a broker and the only thing on their mind is, let me shop for the cheapest price in the marketplace. And so, there was a lot of work that went into choosing the right broker partner for us. When I was, again, a broker, I heard time and time again, Megan, I don't want to lose a client over an insurance thing. And so, that client experience was the most important part to us. While technology is something we believe in, so we did make this a one-click process for you guys to get the information over to Prizm. Once the client was in Prizm, we wanted to make sure that client experience was top notch and that you all could sleep tight at night knowing that you put your clients in the best hands in the marketplace, and that we're all most interested and care most about that client, that it's not about selling a policy. It's not about, again, over promising or under delivering. It's about making sure that client knows what they have, what's available in the marketplace, and that the client experience is as easy and as seamless as possible. So, Prizm checked all of those boxes plus some. They work with over 30 insurance companies, and they are nationwide. So I'm super excited to introduce you all to David, who is the founder of Prizm Insurance, to explain a little bit about their process and how it all works.
Hey Megan,
Hey, David, how are you?
great. How are you?
Doing fabulous. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so excited to be here. And you can actually jump to the next slide while I say hello, but really, really excited for this partnership and this integration between Prism and Holistplan. We've already had many advisors start engaging in the integration in the process, and we're getting some really great feedback. So excited for the rest of you here on this call to start to engage and learn a little bit more about Prism. And before I get into who Prism is and a little bit about me, I want to just touch base real quick on something that you said, which is the client experience. And the client experience is why we built Prism. It is like it's our North Star. Everything we do is in service of the client experience. We are the most tech savvy or tech enabled PNC brokerage that exists in this market, doing insurance reviews for advisors and their clients. But that technology was not just built for technology's sake, it was built in service of that client experience. I have over 20 years of experience in insurance. I started my career as a State Farm agent, and then I moved into working with the biggest brokers in the world as a private client advisor that worked with advisors and it worked with advisors and their clients to do insurance reviews. And I was frustrated by the slow, manual, inconsistent process that existed in this space. And I knew that if we were going to bring technology, if we were going to focus heavily on client experience and ensure that we delivered that consistently every time, that I just had to leave and go do it myself. And that's how Prizm was born. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And our approach is it's simple, right? Holistic planning is the future. Clients expect advisors to be the quarterback for insurance, financial services, trust and estate, tax planning, and all of those things. And without trusted partners in technology, it's almost impossible for them to deliver that to their clients. And that's why we're the insurance experts, so you guys don't have to be. We are real humans utilizing the technology between Holistiplan and Prizm's technology to deliver a seamless review process that you can trust. I know that that was something that Megan mentioned already, right? Trust you in making sure that the relationship stays intact. Well, that's the most important piece for us is that trust piece, that relationship piece, because we believe in that too with our clients. So when we come together and we have that same common goal of taking care of the client, it becomes a very magical thing to work with and turns into a very amazing opportunity to provide additional services as an advisor. It's just simpler, faster, and just a better client experience that we have delivered. And that's the technology with the real humans. Megan, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So, what is that client experience? Well, once you engage in the process, like Megan showed you just a couple of minutes ago, where you've done the Holistiplan review and you have this opportunity to click that button in the top left-hand corner, get a quote from Prizm, your clients will then be sent an email that identifies you as the advisor, as somebody who created this request, and asks them to fill out our risk profile questionnaire. It's a link that's embedded in the email. That risk profile questionnaire takes 3 minutes or less. And we only ask your clients questions that they're going to know immediately. You're not going to get a question of when was your roof last replaced? What's the year built of your home? What's the square footage of your home? These are all things that people have to go, let me think about, or let me go back to some information and go get that. And then boom, the process stalls. Well, Prizm partners with third-party data providers that gathers all those hard to answer questions. And we only ask your clients the questions that we really need to know and that they actually know. And with that combination of information that they provide and the information that we get from the third-party data providers, it easily compiles into one single location in our system, which allows us to quickly understand what a client's risk profile looks like and take that out to market to multiple carriers. Now, again, Megan mentioned this is not quotes, right? We use the word quotes because it's something that people understand, but these are reviews. And we are checking the market for better solutions that fit the client and their overall risk profile. And we're delivering those within 3 to 5 business days compared to the traditional 2 weeks or more that you're seeing in the market today. And on top of that speed and ease of use, we're providing expert guidance on this coverage. We're delivering something that we have seen with our own eyes. These are not robots looking at your client's situation. These are robots helping us move quickly through your client situation. But it's people with 20 years of experience in the business who understand this market, very well, who are giving the guidance on the coverage and how we feel clients should be covered to ensure that there's no gaps and they're not left, liquidating assets after a large loss because they didn't have the right coverage. But it doesn't stop there. right? Our support for a client after we've delivered a proposal and they've potentially decided that they want to move forward, the service we provide is the service that you provide, right? We're their everything. They want us to come to they we want them to come to us for all of those, the car changes, the added driver, the hard times when there's claims. And we're going to be proactively having conversations with them year over year about their renewals when rates go up. If there's a better solution in the market, I actually have a story about that coming up. So and and I have a story about what I mentioned with the liquidating of assets too, but we'll get there. But we are the client support year over year, and we continue to show value time and time again to the client after they've gone through this process the first time. Megan, you can go ahead and next. So before you press play, I could go on and on about Prizm's service and Prizm's process, but I think it's better just to show you. And what happens once you click that request for an insurance review for Prizm, your client gets the email. This is the questionnaire. And in 1 minute, you're going to see how well this works. So it starts with very basic information, as you'll see through the video. We ask the clients surface level questions that they absolutely know the answer to. Everybody knows whether they're married or not. Everybody knows what their address is. And they know the basics about that home, whether they own it, they rent it, or it's a new purchase. Often clients will know whether the house is owned in a trust or LLC, but they might not be able to give us that name. Our system will automatically collect data on auto. It will automatically collect data on drivers and ask clients to confirm. It will automatically, continue to run third-party data processes in the background to pull in all of those features about the home, about the cars, so that we're not asking what's the VIN and all those questions that I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago. And then we'll ask lifestyle questions so we understand what the risk profile looks like from a liability perspective. And before you know it, you're done. Just like that. When your client engages with Prizm, this is what they go through every single time. We never forget to ask a question. We never ask anything that we shouldn't ask or that's not necessary to understand and provide a comprehensive proposal to the client. And we deliver it quickly, 3 to 5 business days. The results are back in yours and your client's hands. And Megan, when you click to the next slide, we'll show them, a quick sample of what these results look like. So this proposal will come as a link to your client and you for you to engage in. And there's obviously a lot more pages to this, but this is what a typical review will look like. It's going to show what the coverage item is, the client's current coverage, and what our recommendations are, and the carrier that we recommend the client move forward with. It also provides a quick definition of what that coverage means. So when a client and you as the advisor open this up, it is clear to understand where the deficiencies lie. We have a client that's insured for, here in this scenario, $800,000 on their home, where the home is actually $1.7 million to rebuild. Client has missing coverages in critical areas for a high-end home. There may be deductible scenarios that we think are a better fit for the client. We show key differences in what the carriers that we offer provide versus, what the typical mass market carriers provide from an actual cash value or agreed value perspective, which you see on that top line, where in this situation of high-end vehicles, agreed value is going to provide a much healthier settlement in the event of a total loss. We recommend coverages like combined single limits of liability versus split limits that are more aligned with the way accidents and lawsuits are paid out today. So there's real thoughtful, there's a ton of thought that goes into each client when we deliver this proposal, and we deliver it in a way that's digestible so that when it comes time for the client to say, hey, this looks interesting, I think we should figure out how to take next steps. The conversation that we have with you and your client, it's shorter, it's more meaningful, because we don't have to spend the first 10 or 20 minutes, solving the Rubik's Cube and explaining to you what we've done for you. Megan, if you want to go ahead to the next slide, I'm going to switch gears. And, if you guys missed it, we put a picture of it here when this thing hit the news. But, Prizm is a great tool for you to use for your current clients, but it can also be a great tool to use for a prospect and be a differentiator for you when you're trying to win that prospect over. We had an advisor a while back who did this exact thing. Somebody we've been working with for a while, knew Prizm, trusted Prizm, and was trying to win a new prospect. And they put this prospect through an insurance review because they felt that there were some deficiencies in this client's program. Quick background on the client, they were worth a little over $20 million dollars and only had $1 million umbrella in place. We did the review. We identified deficiencies not only in the umbrella, but in the whole program. We provided a clear side by side of where those deficiencies were that you just saw. And the prospect decided to move forward with Prizm and with the advisor because they were in awe where they were underinsured. And that review paid off almost instantly. It was 2 months after we converted the program. A major catastrophic accident happened on the property of the new client that ended up paying out millions of dollars off of the umbrella. And had this not happened, had the advisor not been thoughtful enough to put the client through the insurance review, they would have been liquidating millions of dollars of their assets to make that family whole again who was hurt. So maybe the premiums went up for the client. That's because there were deficiencies in the program, but the value it far exceeded whatever any that insurance cost would be. And that advisor not only won that client, but has won many, many clients from referral from that particular client. And that client is still a client of Prizm today. Very happy with the services. We can go to the next one, and I'm going to switch gears on not something so catastrophic, but something that's just a continuous win for you and the client year over year, which is how we handle renewals. 60 to 90 days prior to a client's renewal, we're going to check in with that client and we're going to just make sure that things have not changed in their life for us to have to make changes to their account and keep it in line year over year with what the lifestyle is. That's extremely important because often programs just sort of get left alone and nothing ever happens. And then 5 years go by and we are not covered the way we need to be covered anymore. But because of Prizm's proactive nature of the renewal process, our finger is on the pulse of the market constantly. So we know what zip codes, what cities, what states, and what carriers have appetites within those. So if a client sees a significant rate increase on an annual renewal, we will proactively take that program out to the market with carriers like the carrier that they're already with, not reducing coverage, but trying to understand what the appetites are for other carriers within the market. And it happens that we can save clients money sometimes in these situations. Now, this is like we all know that insurance is we just see rates go up year over year and that's not always the hardest part. The hardest part is not knowing why, right? The hardest part is nobody telling them. When I was a State Farm agent, and I was captive to State Farm, there was a joke that when renewals happen, we would just hide under our desks, right? But this is not a set it and forget it situation like most advisors do with their programs. If the client doesn't call, then they don't call the client. Prizm proactively will do this. And we did this for a client recently, and we're able to actually convert them to a new program that reduced their premiums. And the client was in awe. They said to us, I have never had an insurance broker reach out to me and tell me my premiums are going to go down at renewal because they looked and found me a better solution. They told their advisor about this and told them how happy they were that the advisor put them through the Prizm review process a year ago and how happy they are with the continued service that Prizm provides. So there's a lot of ways where Prism continues to show value for you, the advisor, not just in the beginning of the process where you're ensuring that the client is adequately covered for the assets that you're helping them grow and manage, but year over year, so you're not getting that reactive piece to the client experience where they go, "Oh my God, my rates went up and I don't know who to call. Do you know anybody?" And then you're reacting. You don't have to be reactive with this relationship any longer. We proactively manage this year over year, and we're able to then show this value year over year for you and your clients, um, without you having to continue to find new partners and look in a different direction for them. So that is really it for me today for Prism. But we're here for questions, and we're really excited for you to try this out yourself. And I think one of the easiest things to do, and Megan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is like do it on yourself, right?
100%.
You want to understand the experience. We showed you the quick video today. We told you, the value of Prism. We showed you how easy it was, but you want to feel it, do it yourself. I think that gives you the best indication of what your clients will experience. Back to
Could
you, Megan.
Could not agree more, David. And two things I just want to add. David doesn't have a minimum. So your clients don't have to spend $25,000 to, work with David. They don't have to have complex needs. While he can definitely solve those complex needs, one of the many reasons we chose him is because he's willing to work with all your clients, regardless of how much they spend on insurance year over year. And then the other thing, in markets like California and stuff where there isn't always market options, like David mentioned earlier, he's that expert to sometimes tell your clients to stay put, that, hey, where you are in the marketplace today is the best solution based on it, but let's stay in touch. If you ever have questions, he's still going to be there for them. But he really is looking out for you and your client's best interest in this entire process.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Megan. And I'm glad you brought that up because there are times when we will send back an email to the client and the advisor and say, "Hey, thanks for the opportunity to review your insurance. We actually think you're in a really good place with the current carrier that you have based on what we have available, but there's always some tweaks, right?
Of
That
course.
and so we'll deliver a comprehensive review regardless of whether or not we're recommending a new carrier or we're giving them the go ahead to stay with their carrier and telling them what they should do to change it so it's more fitting to their current situation.
Yeah. And again, I think that's key, and that the advisors, you don't have to worry about it. You just know you have a great point of contact that can help you and your clients navigate PNC planning when it comes to any point of that process. So, thank you so much, David. Like he mentioned, he'll be around. We'll do questions at the end of this, but I do have a few more slides just to kind of continue to help illustrate how this all really comes together nicely. So, another case study that we've seen in action is advisors are really great about talking about taxes. Sometimes they talk about life and disability, but there's still that lack of insurance reviews. And when we have seen advisors implement the Canopy and Holistiplan connection and then use Prism as the implementation, what they find is, again, there's those liability gaps. There's umbrella coverages that are missing. You guys would be surprised how many uploads we see on a daily basis that are just home and auto. I'd say over 25 to 30% of people being uploaded today don't have an umbrella policy in place, which again is you don't have to be an insurance expert to know that's important to your client's needs. So again, a lot of what we're surfacing doesn't always mean you have to be an expert. You can still add value to those conversations. And then it really, again, just changes that client outcome. You can help coordinate with that insurance professional, whether it's a one click with us and David or a partner that you already have in place. Clients just appreciate that overarching comprehensive, and that again, you're not just worried about growing their money, but that you're also worried about defending their money. And this is great conversations when the markets are good or bad, or again, it's just been that long-term client that they're happy with you, you're happy with them, but you never know if that young advisor is going to come knock on their door and maybe they use Holistiplan and maybe they're going to put this report in front of your client. Because when I was in sales, my boss used to always tell me my top client was somebody else's top prospect. And the way I won business was going after those top clients, knowing what the everyday insurance person was doing and doing something just a little bit different to get my foot in the door and win it that way. And I have a feeling you all see this as well. And so understanding be that proactive approach for the client. Don't have your competitors come in and then you be like, oh, I can also do that too. Now here's a show them first. So when competitors come to them, they can say, oh no, my advisor already does that for me, but appreciate the offer. And before Holistiplan and really the last, I'd say 5 months in building this full start to finish workflow is PNC planning was tough. Again, you first had to find out the deck pages, figure out who they were with, how to get them. Then you had to figure out, like, okay, do I send this to a broker? If I send this to a broker, they might come back to me and say there's no markets, just in an email with no side-by-side comparison. Now I've just spent all this time with my client gathering these documents for a one-sentence email to come back. But now you can collect those documents in confidence and know that there's going to be a deliverable and clear supported actions once those documents are collected. So from insights to actually issuing policies, that all can happen and be tracked within Holistiplan. And what this means for your clients, David nailed it on the head, especially when working with him. They're going to get that ongoing support. No one's life just, you don't turn 25 or 35 and you're like, all right, life stops now. Nothing new is going to happen. And I could just push insurance aside and not worry about it. It's going to continue to happen. And whether you're checking it every year through Holistiplan or you're, using Dave and his team support to handle that action for you, there's still a lot of importance in supporting your client's PNC very frequently. There's no surprises. Again, I come from a family of attorneys, and I remember some of my family's biggest wins were people's worst days because they won on the insurance was exhausted. The client knew they had an exposure. They didn't transfer enough risk, and now their personal assets were out there for the taking. And so those surprises derail life in many ways, not just financially, emotionally, and so on and so forth. And there's nothing better than confidence. I learned probably 2 or 3 years ago that money has a lot of emotions. And so with those emotions and money, protection can bring that confidence that they can go participate in nonprofits. They can have a fundraiser at their secondary home because they have events coverage. Insurance isn't here to have them stop living life. It's for them to transfer those risks and have the confidence that they can enjoy everything they've built without having to worry about losing it because one bad guest is on premise. And then I think my last point is really, in my opinion, the most important, that what they're paying for is actually what they need solved. I've seen so many people pay premiums and think they're transferring, again, full rebuild cost or all the liability needs. And what they're paying is only transferring a very small portion of the overall risk they hold. And so I think, if anything, there's nothing worse than spending dollars and not getting what you expect out of those. And this process will allow your clients to have a better expectation on the value they should be getting and the costs associated with that value. So the biggest thing that I want you all to walk away from with this webinar is there's no friction at the start anymore. If creating a link is a friction for you, there might be some other issues, but it's as simple as creating a link. The insights are ready to deliver, they're easy to understand, and then it's a one-click button into David to then help with execution and have that conversation with your client that is from an insurance professional's perspective and not just the advisor's perspective. And again, this allows you all to stay focused on planning, which again is already a complex situation that you guys handle for clients. And so having this as easy as we've made it today, we hope that you can start implementing this and really becoming proactive for your clients. And what I always love to say is really helping your clients become prosumers of insurance instead of consumers of insurance, which is where we are today with the commoditization of the world of insurance planning. So if you're not already a Holista fan, I would love for you to start a free trial today. Try out our tax and insurance. If you already are, you can go into your subscription managers and start a free trial for the insurance. There are permissions you can quickly turn on so you can have access to Canopy and Dave. There's no additional charge for those integrations, which I think is key. We want to make your lives as easy as possible. And everyone here at Holistiplan truly believes in insurance planning. And so these tools are just part of our belief and the easy execution we think you all should have when wanting to implement something like this. But we do have a few moments. I don't know if there are any major questions. As always, I will follow up with any answers to outstanding questions in the email. But I think for now, there wasn't anything major, so we can wrap it up. Dave, did you have any closing comments you want to make before we let folks go?
No, nothing major. Just super excited about the integration and have really enjoyed working with the advisors that have already engaged in the review process and really looking forward to continuing this partnership with Holistiplan to make this a proactive part of all the value-added services that the advisors here today can offer to their clients.
Fabulous. And if we do have any enterprises on the call, Dave is happy to go through due diligence processes. They've gone through them with us. They go through them with other firms all the time. So David is at your service and happy to help you all get this across the line as much as we are. So thank you all. We look forward to hearing any and all feedback and hope you have a great day.